Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the Alasia Burke Show. I'm your host, Alasia, and today we're going to be diving deep into a magical and mysterious world with our book of the month, The Witches of New York by Amy McKay. This one is all about witches, women's empowerment, a whole lot of magic, and plus, some chaos, because why not? But before we get into the book itself, I thought it'd be nice to ask the public of what they thought of these themes. Let's travel back. Okay, guys, who do we have here?
Navita. Suhani.
The question of the day is, what is feminism?
She could go first.
So I think feminism is like the freedom for women and how women are disrespected and shouldn't be disrespected.
Okay.
I think feminism is about equality and making sure men and women are equal and there's no disadvantages that women have and that women are not discriminated against.
Okay, today we have here,
Afua and Navita.
the question is, what is a witch?
I believe a witch is a person who does bad things onto people with like black magic, witchcraft, the occult. They do sacrifices and stuff like that and contact the spiritual world.
Okay.
I think the same and that they're evil and rude.
Okay, today we have here,
Kelsey.
And Casey!
and the question of the day is, what is social power?
You can ask her first.
Well, I think social power is like when there's like people at the top of the world, like the rich people. There's like middle class and then there's lower class. And I think that like the rich people like cover everything and they're in the power of everything. Like why like they control everything and like the pigeons have the cameras in them and they spy on people. And like that's why like Elon Musk has Tesla.
Like, okay, I think it's my turn. I think it's like capitalism and like not what she said. And like you know, the government building like organizations to like control us.
Well, like I think
okay,
it's, like
don't interrupt me.
no.
Like, what are you doing?
Now, I want to hear from you guys, my audience. What do you think of when you hear these words like feminism, witchcraft, and women fighting against societal norms? Don't be shy, answer as freely as you feel. Oh wow, some really interesting takes we have. And I love to hear it. So now that we have some thoughts swirling around, let's give a brief introduction of what the Witches of New York actually is. Set in the late 1800s, it follows three hardcore women, Beatrice, Adelaide, and Eleanor, as they navigate the city of New York, a city that just doesn't get them. All this witchcraft talk is getting me tired. So let's hop into a quick commercial before we get into the history.
It's all that cinnamon and sugar that makes those crunchy little squares so irresistible. Cinnamon Toast Crunch, part of this good breakfast. Crave those crazy squares.
Welcome back. I hope you're still awake, and if you are, let's dive deep into that history of witchcraft, feminism, and why it's not just about magic, girls, and witches. First, we have Beatrice, the rebellious young witch with a sixth sense. Then there's Eleanor, graceful, ambitious, and determined to carve her own path, despite society wanting to shut her down. And of course, we can't forget Adelaide. She's mysterious, reserved, and definitely hiding some secrets. Trust me, you'll want to stick around to find out. These three aren't just fighting against magic, they're fighting against a system that wants to see them as criminals. But hey, let's hear from you guys. Do you still think that modern witchcraft still carries the same stigma it did centuries ago? Or do you think that we've totally reclaimed it? I'm absolutely loving this energy, but let's get back into The Witches of New York. Let's go on a little tour of the similar texts that we have that are comparison to this great novel. First, we have The Crucible by Arthur Miller, a classic, right? We've got madness running around after the recent witch trials, and everyone's pointing fingers like it's a competitive game of who's done worse. In The Witches of New York, the witches also face oppression, but the backdrop is the late 1800s. If anything, it's like these witches are living in a time where the word empowerment is still under construction. But in The Crucible, it's all about mass hysteria and, well, burning at the stakes. Let's talk about Bewitched. Oh, Samantha, you sweet magical housewife. She marries a mortal and it's like, now, okay, I have to get my act together, not use my powers, and have a normal life. But can you really have a normal life when you're living the life of a witch? Her husband Darren hates when she uses her powers, even though he knows all about them. It's a classic sitcom. It's lighthearted, funny, and filled with those oops, I use my powers moments. Now compare that to The Witches of New York, and boom, you're in a whole different world. There's no oopsies here. These witches are living in a city that just doesn't like to see them strive. It's way darker and the stakes are way higher. And finally, The Craft. Yes.
For all
the
to
movie
see.
that gives us the cool witch vibes
By
in
the
the
power
90s.
of 3 times
And
3.
even though I wasn't born in the 90s,
As
I
I
have an
will
idea
it,
it was pretty cool just
shall
based off this
be.
description. We've got teenage witches using
What?
their newfound powers to
Plaza
challenge
Brown.
the world around them. Just like the
Oh.
witches in The Witches of New
They're
York.
usually green.
Except they're not teens.
Oh.
But while The Craft is all
You can
about
do that
rebellious
with
teens,
contacts.
The Witches of New York
Yeah,
takes
but
a
it's
whole
good. I
new
mean, it
level
suits you.
with women standing strong
Subtle.
in the
But
face
good.
of a much more
You want
structured
something
society.
bigger?
Alright guys, I think it's time we call a quick commercial break before we wrap up our book talk segment. You don't want to miss it, so stay right here.
It's all that cinnamon and sugar that makes those crunchy little squares so irresistible. Cinnamon Toast Crunch, part of this good breakfast. Crave those crazy squares.
Welcome back guys, and let's talk about why The Witches of New York is so relevant and modern today. This novel is all about embracing your individuality, pushing back against societal norms, and standing strong in the face of oppression. It's not just a magical story, it's an important statement for women and young girls everywhere. McKay's characters, Beatrice, Eleanor, and Adelaide, each represent an angle in which they challenge the world. And let's be real, who doesn't love a story where women fight back for what they believe in and challenge their own destinies? To finally conclude this book talk segment, I thought it would be great to give you guys my rating on this book. So, I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. Although it had a great, strong message, I thought that the style could be a lot better because it wasn't as easy to engage in. Anyways, that's a wrap on the Alasia Berg Show. I hope you enjoyed and stay tuned for our next episode. And for Adelaide's Secret, you're just gonna have to read and find out. Thanks for watching.